people in. Okay. All right. Good morning, Helen. Good morning, Karen. Good morning, Yijang. All right, Jeremy's here. Good morning. Eddie Sai. Hey, good afternoon. Good morning, everyone. If the folks here just joined here, could you please maybe pay your attention or actually open up the chat window? And if you go to the chat window, we are going to be providing hands-on lab credentials to be able to get to take part of this customer immersion experience. You're going to hear me say this a few times. Now, after you actually get into the actual lab, please make sure you go back to the chat window and type in good to go, GTG, and then we'll be providing those for you in just a second. Judy, I think, okay, so we had a hand up there. Good morning, Matthew, or good afternoon, depending where you're at. All right, Yan is here. All right, Mike is here. Fantastic. All right, Jeremy's in already. Fantastic. Thank you, Jeremy. Okay. Yeah, we're going to be going to portal.azure.com. Okay. And we're going to be starting here in about 3 minutes after the hour. So make sure after you get into the actual portal, please come back to the chat window and type in GTG, good to go. Okay, just like that. This way we know that people are actually in it. Now, if you just want to watch today, that's fine. Just give me a good to go as well so that I can make sure everybody's ready to go. No problem. And then we're also going to be doing some polling today. So actually, I'm going to put one up right now. This is going to help me understand where you are in the Azure experience. Are you a beginner, intermediate, or advanced? We'd really appreciate it if you could give us some of your thoughts on this one. Now, the polls today, we've got about 6 different polls that we have that we're going to put out. We never publish who says what. So I just want to make sure you understand that. I want you to feel safe. We're not saying who does what, who does everything. But the reason why we have these polls is actually to reinforce some of the concepts that we are actually getting into today. Okay, so please, if you do me a favor, when we put those up there, please let me, or go ahead and vote on the polling, and it's going to reinforce some of the things. So for those who've just joined, please take a look over at your conversation window, and we're going to be providing each and every one of you access to the hands-on lab environment. All right, the hands-on lab environment. After you get into the hands-on lab environment, just like Karen just put in there, Karen and Jeremy just put in there, good to go, GTG. Matthew did that as well. Thank you, everybody here. Just type in GTG, you're ready to go, and then that's awesome. So Yijang, thank you so much. That is awesome. Thank you. David Kroenke is back. Hey, David, how you doing, brother? Good to see you again. All right, Yan C is good to go. All right, so we'll be starting here in about 2 minutes. So just hang on.
Oh, I was muted, Sherman.
Okay.
Yeah. Just saying.
Anthony, hey, brother. David, good to see you, man. Good to see you.
Well, thank you.
All right. Okay. So yeah, we'll be giving the credentials out here, and please vote on whatever on the poll that we just put in here. Alex Peltz, thank you so much for coming today, sir.
Sherman, I'm going to be in observer mode.
Okay. Okay. No problem. Sounds great. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. Yeah.
It gives me the flexibility to bounce around a little bit too.
Okay. There are going to be a few times that I'll say, "Hey, time to pay attention," because like these are some like secrets, and then maybe you can just really just kind of look at that. But I'll announce it when it's really important.
Yeah, sure. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. No problem. Good attendance today. All right. This is fantastic.
Also, guys, I'm Dylan Gallego. I'll be your moderator today. So if you guys need any help or have any questions or any technical issues, feel free to reach out to me or unmute yourself. More than happy to help any of you guys out if you need anything. You guys are in good hands with Sherman today, so please enjoy the lab today.
Thank you, Dylan. Yeah, so if you're in the chat window, you got something that you want to ask that you don't want to ask with everybody, you can just go to the 2 and you can select Dylan Gallego. He's a panelist, or Judy, or Philip Kent, but really Dylan, and just send him a quick question. or you can just send it directly to me as well, right? If you want to, happy to help on there. So, okay. So let's see. Jay Lee is good to go. Yan's good to go. Yizang's good to go. All right, Karen, let's see. Karen there, okay. All right, Matthew, Jeremy. Very good. We got one new message came in here. Oh, it's okay. Richard just came in. Okay. Okay, Richard, perfect. All right. So it's 10:03. Okay, it is time to get to this Microsoft customer immersion experience. All right, Judy, you want to go ahead and kick this off for us? And you're the sponsor here, so you're putting this on.
Happy to do that. Thanks, Sherman. So I'd like to welcome you all to the event today. Thank you so much. Just to give you a quick idea of who we are as Dean Dorton, we are a full service business consulting group. We help our customers. We come in and we're a complement to your internal teams. And we do this through a variety of offerings, whether it's our accounting and audit services or our technology specialties, such as our security managed services, ERP software implementation, data analytics, or collaboration teams, and where we're overlaid with industry expertise and business consulting to make sure that these services really help you achieve your top level business goals. We're a Microsoft Gold partner, so we have the experience and the background to really help you succeed. My team in particular, we focus on business collaboration and data analytics. And we like to say that we bring the breakpoint to customers by helping them pause to find the right approach to business automation, integration, and data visualization. So today I'm really excited to have Sherman and his team doing this customer immersion experience, because it's so hard sometimes to really understand something until you can get hands-on and take a look and see what's happening and get a better visualization, which is what these experiences do. And Sherman's team, they're some of the top premier Microsoft facilitators for this type of experience. And they're who Microsoft goes to make this all happen. So we're excited. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sherman, but just encourage all of you to be very interactive with this. Use the chat, raise your hand, put comments in there, do whatever you can to make this the best experience possible for you.
Thank you, Judy. Really appreciate that. Everyone, thank you so much. We're here on behalf of Dean Dorton, really. That's what we do. And, we're the Azure Customer Immersion Experience Workshop Facilitator for Microsoft's US and Canada subsidiaries. We teach 36 classes a month for Microsoft corporate and enterprise customers. They typically, last year we ran over 3,000 people through our lab. So we teach on high level stuff, 200, 300, 400. Today, we're going to be teaching on called Azure Cost Optimization, right? And really, today you're going to walk away with the secrets that Microsoft doesn't want you to know, okay? Or they do want you to know, but they don't give you a whole lot of information. And there's so many pitfalls, or so many things that you could do wrong inside of implementing a cloud solution that could really affect you, not only your reputation, but the bottom line for your business, but also affect your ability to be employed. If you make the wrong mistake, there's a lot of security potential issues that come up. And so the theme today is we're going to be walking you through building out a basic virtual machine, a Windows 2019 data center machine. But in each one of the scenarios, there's 6 exercises to do it. I'm going to show you the fundamentals behind it, but I'm also going to show you some things you need to know. These are secrets. These are secrets that no one teaches you, that no one tells you about, that you're going to learn today. And this really comes because Dean Dorton comes from Dean Dorton, really. They want to help educate the people that they work with, right? And as a consumer, you want to feel comfortable that the folks that you're working with potentially are teaming up to do licensing through, or to do managed services or implementation of like Azure components. Not only that they know what they're doing, but they have your best interest at heart. So that's really what the theme is today. You're going to walk away with some really cool information. There's going to be times that I'm going to say, hey, raise your hand, let's do some polls. I'm doing polling to kind of help really facilitate, what's going on here, to help kind of drill down some, specific, ideas that we're doing here, right? So we'll do some polling. I'm going to be asking you guys to give me good to goes in between each exercise. So like when we finish with the resource group, I'm going to say, please give me a good to go. And then I'm going to look at the chat window and I'm going to say, okay, everyone's there. Now, if if you, for some reason, you have a provisioning problem or it's failed provision, right? Please raise your hand and say, hey, just stop right a second. Give me a second. I've done like over 700 of these events and these labs. I can do them in my sleep. I can show you what to do without even seeing your screen. Okay, I can do that, right? So I can help you out. Okay. Now this is what's called a customer immersion experience. There's 3 ways of learning. One is the death by PowerPoint. Now I spent 5 years at Microsoft, actually as an executive there, you know, I'm classically trained at delivering 160 PowerPoint slides in 30 minutes and expecting you to know it all. However, today, that one PowerPoint slide that you saw, that was it. We don't learn that way here. So we don't do that. The second way of learning is just by watching. And some of you may want to watch today, and that's great. Just pay attention when I say, hey, pay attention to this. This is really important. You know, you can really kind of really zero in on what. So if you're multitasking, that's fine. Now, the third way is the customer immersion experience, where I'm actually going to be walking you through. I'm your leader today. So I'm gonna be telling you where to click, you know, and where to, let me put in my spotlight tool, where to click. Okay, that's where I'm gonna be showing you. And if you look at my screen here, please look at my screen. See this spotlight tool? I got a spotlight. This is really cool, right? I'm gonna be kind of going over to where I want you to look using the spotlight tool. So if you have 2 monitors, put one, the production screen that you're doing, and then the other one that you can follow, but you'll always see this little spotlight tool here. And I'm going to be showing this through you. So that's really the third way of learning. So that's just really important. Now, a couple things I want to kind of get clear off the board right now, because I want to show you there's some very sobering costs that I'm going to show you how to fix. These are secrets people don't tell you about, but these are secrets. And I'm going to tell you one thing. So we ran over 3,000 people. I mean, this is very interesting. Okay, so we ran over 3,000 people through our labs last year. Now, there's 3 ways of licensing, really. Okay, and I want to just kind of help you understand it. One is what's called the enterprise agreement, and this is where if you're a big company over 500 seats, 500 users, right? 500 users. You'd have to basically you do a 3-year agreement with Microsoft on cloud, and you know, they give you a lot of links. You should have a team at Microsoft. They help you a little bit with links. You know, here you go, and your support is still, so it all depends on your contract with Microsoft, right? So that's the first way. The second way is called pay-as-you-go licensing, and that's basically where you spun up something, you know, you spun up something in Azure already, and you've actually put your credit card in, right? And they bill you, right? Microsoft bills you directly, okay, for the licensing. Now, that's okay. It's fine. A lot of people do it, but what's very important to understand is when you do this, you do not get any guidance from anyone. There's no help, okay, as you may already know that. And then number 2, when you have a help support issue, you open up a ticket and it goes to a 3rd world country, and then it goes to a second 3rd world country, tier 2, tier 3, it goes to a 2nd world country, and then gets triaged and comes to the US. So it could take you 4 or 5 days to get something enumerated. Microsoft is in the business of creating really cool stuff. They're not in the business of support. They do not want to be in support, and frankly, they don't even really want to be in billing either. So that's the one thing. It's called pay-as-you-go pricing, and there's a lot of pitfalls with that, and many of you actually are on this right now. But I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that today. Okay, so let's just be clear. But the third way is called the Cloud Solution Provider Program. Okay, it's called CSP. So what CSP is actually is Microsoft prefers is they actually want you to work with a certified Microsoft partner. Now, Dean Dorton is a certified Microsoft Cloud Solution Provider Program. And then how this works is instead of you buying licensing directly through Microsoft, you actually call up Dean Dorton and say, hey, I need to buy some Azure licensing here. It's very simple. Okay, it's pretty much the same thing. They just go into your, you know, your licensing guide, and they put you as okay, and then you order it. Very simple. But the beauty of doing it this way is one, you know, Dean Dorton is going to work with you to make sure what you're buying is correct. Okay, that you're not just buying something to buy it. They're also going to give you guidance on how to actually implement it, which is really important, or they will implement it for you, which I suggest. And the third thing is that if you ever have a problem or a trouble ticket, you basically open it up directly with Dean Dorton, and Dean Dorton has a direct hook into Microsoft support, US based. Very different here. Instead of pay as you go, no support, right? No guidance, no support, and you sit there, right? And your help desk. But if you go through CSP provider like Dean Dorton, you can get all the help that you need like this. Now, is the cost higher? Actually, it's not. It's actually sometimes even lower because Microsoft only sells at MSRP. That's it, right? Now it doesn't sell on any discount. Now, if you go with Dean Dorton, you might be able to get a point or two off of the cost, right? You might be able to negotiate a little bit, right? But you're going to get better help. And frankly, over the long term, or a CS, I was like, oh, here you go. So Karen, that is a great question. And I love that question. Is it more cost effective to do an EA agreement or a CSP agreement? I would tell you 9 times out of 10, a CSP agreement, okay? Because an EA locks you in for three years, right? Typically. And Microsoft typically stuffs what's called an EA. What I mean by that is they'll take it and they'll say, okay, what is your overall commitment? Now, the Microsoft rep, who's part of that EA agreement, needs to hit some metrics. So they'll give you Teams, they'll give you Flow, they'll give you Power Apps, they'll put in a whole bunch of stuff that you're not going to use, right? And then you end up paying for it, but they wrap it up into this type of agreement, right? You're really locked into it. CSP, you got a little bit more maneuverability, and you're not locked in. And there's a new thing called the new commerce experience, and I'll tell you about that. Everyone's prices are going up by 20% starting March 1st. Just by the way, I want to let you know. Microsoft just did that, but you don't want to do a locked. You want to do a locked in for like 70% of your licensing for a 1-year agreement, and then 30% of your licensing you want to use on month to month, so you can go up and down. But if you're not wearing CSP, you don't get that help. Okay, you're just locked. So there's a couple of things that are involved in that. Okay, but great question. Great question. So what's interesting about this? Check this out. Is over 3,000 people we ran through our labs last year, and over 90% of the people who that came through our lab, 90% of the people who had pay-as-you-go directly with Microsoft, okay, were overpaying for their Azure consume revenue, their Azure consumption by 43%. Think about that. Okay, I want you to make that sobering, by 43%. Okay, I'm going to launch this other poll here because I'm very interested to hear from the people that are here today. What stage are you in the cloud journey? Have you fully migrated to the cloud? Do you have a hybrid environment? I'm not in the cloud yet, but I'm thinking of migrating, or no, I'm still on-prem. I'm looking for this information. I'm just curious. Now, we don't share who it is, so don't worry. You're okay. We're not going to make you, oh, so-and-so from over here. Karen says she's over, and we're not doing that, right? So go ahead and just answer that one, because it's going to be very interesting. This is going to kind of lead up to some of the things that we're talking about. Okay. So yeah, if you just answer that, at what stage are you in the cloud journey? So I currently have a hybrid cloud environment. I'm not in the cloud yet. I'm thinking about migrating, or no, I'm still on-prem. So go ahead and fill that out. I really appreciate it. But the sobering piece of this is 90%, of those people are overpaying by 42%. And that's what I'm going to show you today. Okay, the theme of the day today is to show you how not, okay, how not to overpay. Okay. And we're going to give you some great tips, and we're going to show you a tool that we use. We use this one tool. It's called a cost optimization asset allocation tool, where we can actually, any type of environment you have, but if you've already migrated to the cloud, we can just use this read-only licensing. So we don't put an agent anywhere. You click a couple of permissions, and then it's called surveil, and we survey your licensing over a 2-week period of time. Then we come back with a report and we say, hey, this is how you can save 42%. And that's actually what our average savings is 42%. In 2 weeks, we can show you how to save 42% on your Azure consumption, because you're not probably implementing some key pieces and key things to that. So, all right, cool. All right, so let's move on here. If everyone can see my screen, can I just get a quick thumbs up from my team, or somebody says my screen is available? You can see the portal.
Good to go, Sherman.
Okay, awesome. So if you're looking at the portal right now, this is what you normally see. Okay, within that. Okay, this is what you normally see when you log into your Microsoft Azure portal. But this is not how, if you guys are in those demo environments, the way that the demo environments are set up are optimized. Okay, so let me show you how to optimize. Just look at my screen for just a second. If I come up here in the pros, this is pro tip number 1. They go to settings, and this is the gear icon. upper right side. So let me just show you. See that gear icon? They'll go here, and then the first thing they do is they go over to the left where it says appearance, okay? And they click on appearance, right? Click on appearance. And what they do here is they do docking the menu, okay? And then we're gonna actually give it a contrast, okay? Give it a contrast, and then we're gonna go ahead and apply these settings. Now you don't have to do this because I already did this for you, but I just wanna show you. And I'm gonna tell you the reason why we did this is because the home button changes a lot, right? But we want to have our menu bar on the left-hand side so we can easily navigate to the things that we want to navigate to, right? But we also want to have a contrast. We want to have this, they call it blue. I think it's black, maybe I'm colorblind, but I like to have this over here, and I like to have my production environment in white. So that's the reason why we did that. I mean, it's rudimentary, but this is a pro tip. We want to show you, some of the cool things that are associated with this, okay? So awesome, perfect. Okay, so this is the portal. Right. So let's just talk about this a little bit. Upper right hand corner, I want you just to look on your screen. My screen says info@azuredirect.com. That's who I am in my sandbox environment. Now, you are either CIE 1, CIE 2, CIE 10. Make sure you remember who you are. We're going to need that for some naming conventions a little bit later down in the lab today. But I wanted to kind of just show you, that piece of that. Okay. Now, we're going to be pressing on some buttons here because I want you to take a look at it. The first button we're going to actually press on is the question mark button that's inside of a bubble, and it's in the upper right-hand side of your screen. So if you click on that, this is the help button. And this is where, if you, once again, were in the pay-as-you-go model, okay, you would go here to create a support ticket. Good luck, on that one. But the reason why I'm showing you this is I want you to look at this one link. It says View Service Health, okay? I'm going to go ahead and click on View Service Health. And the reason why we're doing this, and this is the reason why, there's a very specific reason I'm showing this to you, is because I want you to know where to go in the event that we have an issue, right, with Service Health. Okay, so yes, you are supposed to, I'm sorry, we had a question in here. It says, anonymous attendee, are we supposed to have access to a lab? Yes. If you go to the chat window and just tell us, can I get access to the lab? We'll give you credentials to get into the lab. I don't know who that is, but please tell us who that is, and we'll give you the credentials. We should have actually already had it, but no problem. Happy to give you credentials again. Dylan is actually going to send you the thing. Okay. So this is really important. Okay. In this case, what's important about this is that if there's an event that happens that causes an outage, and there's been a couple over the past 6 years, I think 2 actually, right? There is Anthony. Oh, Anthony. So Anthony can, Dylan can give Anthony some credentials, please. We'll put in the chat window, sir.
I got it for you, Anthony.
Okay. So the reason I'm showing you this is where you go if there's a service event. There's an event that, let's say, the data center went down, but you go here because they have an incredible incident report that they'll create for you. Many of you will have a compliance situation where you have to actually, provide a report. So this is where you go. You go here and you just grab it. You copy, you paste it, no problem. It is awesome. Okay. This is where you go. Not very often. Maybe 3 times in the past 6 years have I seen something in here, but really awesome in a way, to get that information. So I just wanted to show you that. Okay. The next thing I want you to click on in the upper right area is the bell icon. It's a little bell button, right? And go ahead and click on that bell button. And what that is, that's notification buttons. This is a pro tip. Pro tip number 2. We use this all the time. I love this button. I use it all the time. And the reason what it is basically when I'm provisioning services, it'll come over here and then it'll show me like where the progress is. Some services take 20 minutes, an hour even, right, to get done. And it'll tell you where the progress is and tell you if it's completed or it failed, whatnot. So a really great button. We're going to show you today. It'll be in action. You're going to love it. Okay, awesome. Now the next thing I want to show you here, if you go two buttons over, and it's a square, it's a screen with a little arrow in it. Okay, I want you to click on that. Okay. And the reason I'm doing this is called Cloud Shell. Now, there are 3 ways to deploy things in Azure. One is through the portal, which we're doing today, which comes with wizards, which are awesome because it prevents you from creating a Frankenstein. Okay. Now, the second way is through PowerShell. Okay. But if you don't know the PowerShell commands, and I'll show you, so I can put get PowerShell -1 to boom, and I hit enter, and it says, oh, get, the term get is not recognized as the name of a command let. Okay. List cmd lets, nope, don't have that, can't list that one. So if you don't know what it means or how to do something, right, it's going to give you, you know, a red, you know, a red, it basically says, you know, the menu says, no, it didn't work. Okay. And or give you some information. So this is the second way of provisioning things. If you're intermediate, you do this because it's a lot faster than the tool. Now, the third way to provision is through your desktop, okay, using a CMD, right? And actually using Windows PowerShell with the Azure component where it actually you can do AZ Connect and connect to Azure and actually do everything just from your own CLI, you know, that is on your desktop. So those are really three ways of producing. I just want to show you, we're not going to hit this today. So let's go ahead and click on the X button on that one. Okay. Now, this is where I want you to start doing some exercises. We're all going to start getting our fingers ready here. Okay, get them out here. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Okay, sounds good. Okay, so now in this situation, I want you to type in 3 letters, okay? Because we're going to be searching for availability sets. Just type in Apple, Victor, Apple, AVA, okay? Now, when you type in AVA, just the first 3 letters of something, anything with AVA comes up. It's really kind of cool. It's a great search engine. But I want to show you something very specific about this. So it's broken up into 3 categories here, right? Services, marketplace, and documentation, okay? Services means everything Microsoft provides. Marketplace means everything these independent software vendors have done to create to make the stuff on the left-hand side go faster, quicker, better. Now, let me explain something to you. Microsoft has 12 main services to start in Azure. After that, secondary, there's 158 secondary services, 868 tertiary services, and over 4,500 quad services, meaning that there's been a ton of you know, innovation to make the core services go faster, quicker, better. So that's marketplace. Now, does marketplace cost something? Yes, it does. It does, definitely does cost, right? So you got to be really careful with this. And then you have your documentation that I like, but I just want to kind of show you that for edification. Okay, left-hand side is availability services. Right-hand side is what people make to go faster. Okay, so let's exit out of AVA. Let's type in something else. Type in VIR. Everything with type in VR, you can see virtual machine, virtual networks, virtual clusters, cool things in here, right? So let's delete that, and then we'll click out of that. We're going to be using this today once or twice. Okay, awesome. So let's we got 2 more buttons to explain, and then we're clicking here in about 3 minutes. So here's a pro tip number 4. There's a button called Create a Resource. Go ahead and click on that if you like. We actually don't use this anymore because they've combined the marketplace with the main services and actually becomes kind of confusing. Okay, so we're not going to use this one. I'm going to show you a better one. The better one to use is if you go 3 down below, the 3rd one down after the Create a Resource, it says All Services with a hamburger. It looks like a hamburger button. Go ahead and click on that. Now this is awesome. Okay, because this was based on categories. This is where I go all the time to get stuff. And you're going to see here, we have some buttons right here like virtual machine. We have virtual networks. We're actually going to be coming here to start our virtual network later on. But you can go here and go to different categories and we can find everything that's going on. But this is where I go, okay, is all services. Okay. Now, what I want everyone to do here on the left-hand side, I want you to click on the green waffle icon for all resources. So let's go ahead and click on all resources. Now on your side, you're probably thinking, well, wait a minute, why don't I see anything? I'm going to tell you the reason why, because I put some security pieces in place I'm going to explain to you here in a second. But if you look at my screen, okay, all resources is just literally everything. It's all resources. It's pretty simple. All resources. It's like the toy box when you're a kid, right? That had all of your toys in, right? That nothing was matching anymore, right? That's what this is, okay? And it can be daunting. It can be huge. You gotta be really careful with it, okay? So you have all resources there. instead of doing that, the better thing is actually using resource groups to find and put ring fences around, what you're doing. So I just want to show you this, but hard to kind of find things, okay, in all resources. I'll show you a better way. Now, what I want you to do, I want you to click on resource groups, and this is actually going to be our start of the actual session. So we're right on time, we're 2 minutes early. I'm going to go ahead and click on our resource groups. Okay, now before I get started here, I want to make sure if everyone got a chance to vote on the polls. I'm going to be closing this poll here in just a minute. So go ahead and vote, please. I'm fully migrated. I currently have a hybrid cloud environment. I'm not in the cloud yet, but thinking about migrating, or no, I'm still on-prem. Okay, if you do that, perfect. I'll wait for one more. If anybody hasn't voted yet, let's just do one more. I'll get one more vote in there. Perfect. Okay, cool. Oh, here's a cool one. We'll get right into it. Are you purchasing through CSP today? I'm curious who here is, or who, let's see, yes or no, no, yes. Okay, we have one yes. Okay, interesting. I'll share the results here. I'm not sharing who voted, okay, for what, so don't worry about it. You can go ahead and click through here. Okay, so we have that. Let's see if we can get a couple more people in here. All right. Well, so while they're voting here, thanks everyone. I really appreciate when you guys do give some feedback, because I'm talking to just a white light. So sometimes I'm like, oh God, I need some help. All right, so let's do this. Let's talk about resource groups. Who here can tell me? You can go to the chat window or come off of mute. Who here can tell me what they think a resource group is? How would you describe the fundamental, number one fundamental first step in any type of Azure environment? What is a resource group? And I'm going to let people, you can go type it in. Okay, Jeremy says a container. Okay, that's a start. Yes. Okay, so what else? Let's see. Anybody else have any other ideas what a resource? It's fundamental first step you do anytime you do anything in Microsoft. You start building it with a resource group. So let's see, what else could it be? We'll give it a second. And so no answer is a bad answer. You're fine with me. I like to find the positivity in everything. So let's see. Anyone else have any thoughts what a resource group is? You can go to the chat window and just type it in. What is what is a container that has positive thing? No. Let's see. Anybody else? Let's see. A cost center. Matthew, that it could. Yeah, I mean that as part of a cost center. Okay. Okay. How about this? Would you like me to explain it in layperson's terms, non-technical? Give me a yes. Somebody give me a yes or a thumbs up. And the way I explain it, you'll totally get it. Yes, Anthony says yes. Okay, all right. Okay, so imagine this. I like to paint pictures here. Okay, imagine you're on the 50th floor in a skyscraper in New York. Okay, and you look down the window and you see two construction sites, right? And they're both building skyscrapers. So that's the main component. They're both building skyscrapers, but they're competing construction companies. One's ABC IT and the other one is honest construction. One is ABC construction, one is honest construction. Okay, so let's think about this. But you notice that they have all of their stuff around, right? They have the materials, the people, the trucks, the machinery, right? That they're using to build this skyscraper. Okay, and you look to the right, and it's the same thing, right? Okay, same thing. But one peculiar thing you notice now when you're looking down, you notice that there's no fence. There's no fence in between both of the construction sites. So what's the problem with that? So can somebody tell me what is a problem with having no fence around all of these materials and people and things? Can somebody give me something on on the chat. What could be a problem? Now, Dylan, stealing from your items for, okay, yes, exactly. That's where I was going to get Dylan to come in on this one.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Karen. I was literally going to say the same thing.
Cross-site resource control, Jeremy, even better. Okay.
Even better answer, Jeremy. That was even better than my answer.
Okay, but think about this. The way I look at it is, somebody from Honest Construction could be like, hey, I want to put those guys across the street, ABC Construction, out of business. He walks over to the construction site headquarters and he calls the cement company, says, hey, I know we laid cement 2 months ago, but I need you to send over 300 cement trucks. Yeah, how am I going to pay for it? Go ahead and bill it. Click. And then he walks back over to Honest Construction, right? Not so honest, right? And so that could be a big problem, right? So access, right? So what a resource group in this scenario would be is basically putting a fence around each construction site, okay? Because now you say, okay, what are we doing? Well, we're building the construction, the building, and what we're doing is making sure that all the stuff inside that helps build this building is secure. Okay, but then also, how do we secure it? Well, then we need to put a fence, right? We need not a fence, but a gate to the resource group, to the fence, right? And that's where the virtual network comes in, okay? Because we want to say, okay, we only want people to have access, certain people to have access to this resource group, right? Next question I have for you is, in this scenario, would you want to allow everybody, every worker inside of that are there working inside of that construction to be able to do anything that they want, to order as many supplies as they want? We all know what the answer is to that, right? No, we don't. And that's fundamentally one of the biggest mistakes people make in Azure is you allow people inside the Azure portal and you allow them to do whatever they want, to build certain virtual machine sizes as big as they want, okay? And I'm going to give you a real world example. This happened 2 months ago. One of our partners had a breach. Okay, they didn't put security up correctly. And what happened was a Bitcoin miner got in, okay, and they elevated the privileges. Then they became another user. And then that user, what they did is they created 2 Bitcoin mining machines that started from 12 o'clock at night and ran till about 6 o'clock in the morning. And in 2 days, the cost was $12,000. Imagine going from $700 a month to $12,000 overnight. And the reason why that happened is because, number one, they didn't have the right security controls in place. And number two, they didn't put any policies in place to make sure. So that's what a resource group. So inside of Azure, whatever we're doing, whatever we're building, so we're building a data center today, we want to have a resource group created for that. But we also want to put in limitations, okay? We create a resource group and we put everything that we need to do to build this data center inside that resource group. All right, give me a thumbs up if that made sense, or give me a yes, that makes sense. Now I get it. Like, I'm curious, just so that, or say, please re-explain. Jeremy, all right. Thank you very much, Jeremy, appreciate it. Okay, cool. So right now you're gonna notice that on my screen, I've got a lot of resource groups, okay? That's because I control everything. On your screen, did you notice that you only have one? You should only have one, okay? And there's a reason, yeah. Because what I did is that I limited your access. So when you logged into the portal, the only thing you see is your resource group. And there's a purpose behind it. But then I also limited your access to create things. So let's show you how. So what I want you to do is actually click into your resource group. I'm going to click into mine, which is info RSG. Oh, look at that. So we didn't get a clean out yesterday. Somebody forgot to do that. So I'm going to delete these resources. Give me a second. Okie dokie. Okay. I'm going to get into a different one. So if you look at my screen, what I want to show you here is 2 things. Okay. So fundamentals here. These are fundamentals, people. What I want you to remember is when you create a resource group, the first thing you do is you have to let certain people in to that resource group and only give them access. So the first thing you would do, you see where it says access control? Okay. So you click on access control. Now you can't do this because I limited what you can do, but this is where you would go and you would add people here. You go to the add button, you press add, and you'd add a role assignment. And what I mean by that is you're going to add a contributor. Okay. You bring a contributor into your role assignment, right? And then you select a member. For example, I select a member, and this is, for example, I put CIE 11, right? Okay. And I would select, and then I would make them a member. So now whenever they log in to Azure, the only thing they're going to see is this resource group. This is so important. You're not doing it at the subscription level. You're doing it at the resource group level. Okay. So that's how you do it. Now, the next thing I want you to see here, and this is something that I want you to click on, please, is right in the middle of your resource group, you should see this thing called policies. Click on policies. Okay. Now, if you look here, these are policies that I did at the subscription level. Now, you can do it at the resource group level, doesn't matter. But basically, I said, okay, look, everyone inside of all these subscriptions, I'm going to limit their virtual machines SKU sizes. Because basically, I don't want you to be able to call up the cement company and order 400 trucks. I don't want you to create a Bitcoin mining machine there in the lab. So I limit your resources here. I hope that makes sense. That's what's really important here. Okay. So just want to show you that. Okay. So that really is resource groups. So fundamental first step, we already created what, so we've actually done and completed step number 1. Now, what we need to do next is actually create our what's called a virtual network, because we've created this resource group. We need to now attach something to this. Okay, we need to put a gate. So what I want everyone to do, I want everyone to go over to all services on the upper left-hand side of your portal. I want you to click into it. Okay. Then what I want you to do is scroll all the way to the right. And the last button on the right-hand side says virtual networks. Go ahead and click on that. We're going to click on virtual networks. We're going to create a virtual network. Then the upper left-hand side, right under the name of virtual network, there's a little plus sign and a create. I want you to go ahead and press that. Press plus, create. All right. Now it says create a virtual network. So what this is new page is called a blade. They're called pages blades in Microsoft. But this is a wizard. So we have tabs. We have basic tabs, IP addresses tabs, security, tags, and review and create. Now today we're always going to be skipping tags. Okay, we should do better with this, but it's just too complicated to explain today. But we're going to go from left to right, and we're always going to go from top to bottom. Okay, so this is the start here. So the very first thing I want you to look at is subscription. Okay, so it should say Microsoft Azure. Make sure that's there. Next, we have resource group. Okay, so what I want you to do is take the downward chevron, okay, which is the down arrow, and I want you to select your resource group. So I'm going to select info RSG test, and then we're going to give it a name. Okay, demo lab VN-01. Okay, the name is demo lab. Okay, no problem, Matthew, no problem, brother. Hold on a second. Okay, so Matthew, we already got the resource group. All we're doing is virtual network now. Okay, so Matthew, go over to this thing that says all services on the upper left-hand corner of your menu bar, the black area. Okay, upper left-hand, looks like a little hamburger. Click on that, and then scroll all the way to the right where it says virtual networks. Click on that, and then push create. Let me know when you've done that, and then you'll be right here. Just give me a thumbs up that you've caught up. Thank you, Dylan. All right, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so the name Demo Lab VN-01, perfect. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to click to the next tab, which is IP addresses. So click on IP addresses. The beauty of this is Microsoft is they're giving us our initial IP address space, which we no longer have to figure it out on our own, which I love. And they already created a default subnet, which we're just going to leave alone. So this is awesome. This is a good thing. Okay. So now we can go to security. Now click on the next tab, upper middle, says security. Now we're going to leave everything here default, but I do want to call one thing out. Here's a pitfall here. Nobody's going to tell you this until you get a $4,000 bill. Do not push enable DDoS protection unless, remember this one, unless you are either a potential site, you have a potential web page that is a site for hacktivism, or you have more than 100,000 visitors a day to your site. Then you want to do DDoS protection just in case you get a denial of service. But it costs a ton of money, so don't do it. All right, so now we're going to skip to tags. We're just go ahead and click on tags. We're going to skip through that and we go over to review and create. Now, what I love about these wizards, when you click on review and create, it's going to do what's called a validation. It basically says, hey, validation is passed. You've done everything correctly. When you get that green checkbox, then you go to the very bottom where it says create and you hit create. Very simple. Okay. Now, what's going to happen is you're going to get a deployment in progress. So, okay, this is where our first, I need some feedback from the group here. Okay. Good to go. Say good to go. GTG. If you've made it to this screen, deployment in progress. Now, if you're just watching, give me a good to go as well, please. Okay. So I know this. Matthew's good. Jeremy's good. Anthony's good. Good job, everyone. Good job. Karen, good to go. David, GTG. All right. All right. Let's see who else. Did anyone have a problem? Raise your hand if you had a problem. If you have a validation not passed. All right. All right, all right, all right. Okay. Now, Rosalind, thank you. Good to go. All right. Good job. Good job. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Everyone who helps me out, I really appreciate it. I really do. Okay. Now, our next step is called an availability set. Okay. So I want everyone to go to all services. Actually, no. I want everyone to go to your search bar. Okay. This is very easy. Go to the search bar and type in AVA, Apple Victor Apple. And then you're going to see availability sets. Go ahead and click on that. Okay. Now, when you're in availability sets, upper left-hand side says create. Okay. All right. So we'll create. Okay. So now we should be at the new wizard. Pretty simple stuff here. Let me just explain to you what an availability set is. A lot of people don't understand it. It's actually redundancy. Okay. It's logical grouping capability for isolating VM resources from each other when they're deployed. Really, what it means is, look, your VM is going to be put on a rack of equipment. Okay. Now, that rack of equipment, if it's on, it's working. Now, Microsoft from time to time needs to update that equipment. So what happens to your VM if there's an update? Well, it could go down. Okay, well, what happens if there's a fault, power loss, power something, or something problem? What happens to your VM? It goes down. Okay, so what you're doing here, and this is fundamental steps, you're raising your hand and you're saying, hey, Microsoft, I would like to have this in an availability set, okay, so that my VM can go across domains. Now, we can do an availability set, we can do an availability zone, we can do an availability region. Okay, we can make this bigger and bigger and bigger, right? But a set doesn't cost you anything, maybe pennies, really. And it's redundancy, plus your SLA goes up by 2. Okay, so you get 3 nines instead of 2 nines. Okay, awesome, right? Okay, so what we're doing here, okay, is very simple. So project details, make sure the subscription says Microsoft Azure. Go to the resource group and go find make sure you put in your resource group and then give it a name, okay? AVA set -01. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in the chat window for you. Okay, putting in a name. I'm saying the region is West US. Now the fault domains, this is basically what it's saying. Saying, look, if one domain goes in a fault, like power loss, I want it to go to the second domain. Awesome. Now update domains, the reason why we have set it at 5 is because Microsoft sometimes updates up to 3 domains at a time. So you always want to have 5 in there. That's your pro tip. Write this one down. Okay. 5 in there. Perfect. No problem. Now, we're not going to touch in anything in advanced. We're not going to touch anything in tags, and we're going straight over to review and create. So hit review and create. You'll get a validation is passed, and then you'll get a little blue button that says create. All right. So now when you're on this page, deployment in progress, come back to the chat window and give me a good to go, because we're going to do the virtual machine now. All right. Jeremy's in. All right. Karen's in. All right. Great job. Anthony, my man. All right. GTG. Okay. Let's see. Does anybody have any problems, any trouble? Matthew, way to go, brother. All right. Okay. Rosalind, all right. All right. Okay. Okay. Now let's get into nitty gritty. Let's deploy our virtual machine. Okay. So same thing. We're going to go to all resources again. Upper left-hand corner, also, or excuse me, all services. And we're literally going to do virtual machines here. So click on virtual machines. Okay. And what I want you to do is go over to says create. So it says create and then hit virtual machine. Okay. Now this is where the rubber meets the road. So this is where I'm gonna tell you guys there's a few things to pay attention to. So what are we doing here, right? So we're basically doing lift and shift. We're thinking about how to take some of our resources on the low and lift them into Microsoft, right? That's what lift and shift is, right? But we need to understand some fundamentals, okay? The way that you built your servers in the past is not the way you build servers in the future, in the cloud. It's just fundamentally different. And I want you to really recognize this. It's fundamentally different. You know, one of the main, and actually I'm going to ask the group here, what was the main reason that in the past for on-premise servers that we always built it with an extra 30% capacity? Can anyone tell me that? Why did we do that? Why did we always say, well, we need to build a bigger server? You know, why did we do that? Can anyone give me a response in the chat? For growth. David, great job. Exactly, right? Because what happens? Yeah, anticipate growth. Great job, Anthony. Really, really awesome. You know, we did that because our applications took more and more resources, right? Every time they upgraded, right? So we're like, oh crap, you know, we need more stuff, right? But also we need to understand that 40% of the applications you had on your servers are probably gone. They're SaaS products now. And I'll give you an example. Exchange, right? Thank goodness you don't have Exchange on-prem anymore. I hope you don't. But if you do, you understand the problems with it. It's a pain in the butt, right? Or QuickBooks is now QuickBooks Online. You used to have a QuickBooks server, some ERPs, right? But a lot of this stuff has gone to the cloud, okay? But we also need fundamentally to understand what are you doing. So Judy, you know, let me ask you a question here. If you could come on. I think we kind of discussed this a little bit yesterday. But and this is something we happen a lot, right? Is clients will come to you and they'll say, hey, Judy, you know, I want a price. I want a price right now. This is what I got on-prem. I want to know exactly. This is what I got right now. Give me a price. You know, help us understand like a situation like that and how you handle it.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's the typical answer that you get from IT. A lot of times you have to say it depends, because it's not straightforward to say, well, this server costs you exactly this much to move it into the cloud, because there are so many variables and so many things we have to understand in order to make it work and to think about the transition. There's so many different pieces to it. You know, how much is it on? How often are you using it? How many people are accessing it? What is it used for? That we really need to think about and look at as we start to move that over. Some are very simple migrations, some are a little more complex. And sometimes we also want to look at, do you really want a VM? Is that the best approach? Or do you need to think about how this application is being used, and should it be re-visualized and rebuilt somewhat to take advantage of the full strength of Azure? Because Azure isn't just a hosting location. It has a ton of additional services that can be utilized to really make your applications useful. So it's a complicated question, and it's worthy of a discussion, and not just give me the cheapest quote you can find.
I love it. I love it. I love it. That is great. That is good. And you know, and the other thing is really understanding the application that you have, like you were talking about the application. And I'll give you an example here, everybody. A SQL server. Think about this: a SQL server online, or not online, SQL server that you bought. You're running it 24 hours a day inside of your office. And why are you doing that? Well, why not? I have it. I bought it. It's on-prem. But if you really to look at the telemetry on that SQL server, you're really only burning daylight about 2 hours a day to do all the reconciliation. If you really look at it, okay? Now, if you took that same SQL server and you brought it to Azure, okay, your cost would be astronomical if you're going to run it 24 hours a day. I mean, not astronomical, but it wouldn't really make sense. It would be like, what? Well, why would I do this? Now, instead of doing that, you know, what you need to do, and this is my guidance, this, a lot of people don't know this, you would look at your SQL server and say, okay, I know that it really only runs about 3 hours a night. Okay, so what if I use what's called a reserved instance? What if I only bought 3 hours a night? So 3 times, let's say for just business, right? So 15, right? So you're looking at 60 hours a month, right? You're looking at 720 hours a year, okay, as opposed to 24 hours a day, okay? So you're going to be buying it at like a 75% discount than what you're actually using it. Now, the beauty of what's called a reserved instance is you can turn up the dial and turn it down. So if you need a little bit more time, no problem. But fundamentally, you need to understand what the application is and then what you're going to use it for, and use things such as a reserved instance to reduce your costs significantly. And you know, we find this as fundamental issues. This is one of those secrets I was telling you about earlier, okay? Is people don't know what a reserved instance is. They don't understand it. They don't, like, because they don't get the guidance from Microsoft, or they're working with a partner that has no idea what a reserved instance is, and you're throwing away money. Just literally, you're throwing it away. Right now, you're throwing it away. You're taking it, you're throwing it away, okay? And we all know we don't want to do that, right? So that's what we're trying to talk about. So I'm gonna throw up another poll here, as I want to make sure that we understand that. And I'm curious to see if you're currently using reserved instances in your current environment right now. Do you understand every application? Because it's not just for SQL servers, but you can do reserved instance for anything else if you really understand the application. And it's really important to understand that. So, and I'm going to show you something. If we can get like 6 or 7 votes on here, I'm going to show you something that's going to make a lot of sense to you. Okay, it's sobering, but I'm going to show you something. So please, let's get some votes in here, because this is exactly what I saw after we ran 3,000 people through our Microsoft programs. Okay, is that the majority of them, 90%, didn't. So, okay, one more vote. Give me one more vote. Just give me one more. Anybody, please give me one more, so that I can make my my percentage here. So give me one more. Come on, somebody, please. Awesome, perfect. Okay, thank you. And watch this. Okay, watch this. I'm going to end the poll. I'm going to share the results. I'm not sharing who it is, but look at that. Okay, that means 90% of you are not. You're throwing away money right now. Boop, throw it away. Just get rid of it. Take it. Pull out your wallet. Take the $20. Open the trash. Throw it in there. Because Microsoft likes this. They don't tell you this. They like this. So really, we need to understand what you're doing and how you're doing it, right? And that's why Judy said the best way when somebody comes up to say pricing is, well, hold on a second. Let's understand what you're doing first. Okay. So I'm going to show you a way that we can help you save that money a little bit later down the road. Okay. So let's get back to this right here. Resource group. We're in the machine, right? Resource group. Select your resource group, please. So I'm selecting info RSG test. So cool. Okay. Now we got to give it a name. Okay. Demo lab VA VM-01. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to put this in the chat window just in case. Okay, watch this. Demo Lab VM-01. Okay, cool. Okay, Demo Lab, that's the name. Now, right below that is region. Region's very important. You always make sure that it's closest to your corporate headquarters. Okay. The next one down says availability options. Now, remember, we just created an availability set. So that's what basically it's asking us. So I want you to click on the downward chevron, okay, and select availability set. Okay. When you do that, another window pops up right below it. It's going to ask you what set do you want to attach it to? Well, we just created one. This is the only one that's available. Okay. So watch this availability set. Okay, cool. So we got that in there, right? So availability set 1, perfect. Leave security type standard. The image is Windows 2019 Data Center. That's the image. Okay. Now let's look at this, the size. Okay. So size. Take a snapshot of this or write this down. Whenever somebody comes to me and says, Sherman, can you give me some advice? How should we start this? And I would say proof of concept first, and you start with this particular VM. The reason why, one, it's $305 a month. It's pretty damn cheap. Okay. Number two, it gives you access to all the Microsoft products and services. Number three, if you go any smaller, you might not be able to do some stuff. So this is where you start. Okay. But Microsoft has also given us some really cool things. They've given us categories that we can deploy, okay, that are based on types of workloads. So if you have high memory needs, there's a category for it. So it kind of gives you some ideas, but we'll always start small, okay? Now, let's scroll down. Demo, so we're gonna give the username is gonna be demo user. I'm gonna put this in the chat window. So demo user is the name, and the password password.1 bang bang. There's your password. Okay, I put it into the chat window. Okay, so you put that in there. Now, if you scroll down, inbound security port rules, we're going to leave that alone because we're going to allow us to get in through RDP. Okay, we're going to do RDP to get into our machine. Okay, now next, I want you to pay attention to one thing. I want you to scroll back up. Do you see where it says size and it says the cost of your machine? Now mine says $305. Yours might say $270, depending on the region that you're in, right? It might be a little bit less, but I want you to pay attention to $305. Okay, now scroll down to the very bottom. There's this thing called hybrid use benefit. Now, many of you know what this is, okay? And this is another secret that we're going to help teach you and help you out with, okay? This is another just a money waster, okay? So Microsoft says, hey, look, do you already have, they're asking you this question. Do you already have a server license? And you're going to say, yeah, yes, I do. I got a server license. I got an old 2012 data center. Like, oh, great. Well, did you buy that with software assurance? You say, yeah, I did, because we always do that, right? Now, what they're saying is that, okay, they're saying if you have one, we want you to check this box. Are you going to use an existing server license? So now if you check that box, scroll up to your size again, and look at the new price that they just came out with, $170. Now that went from 302 to 170 with one click. Okay, but you know the other thing that's so cool about this? Microsoft says, well, hey, by the way, after you deploy Windows 2019 Data Center, since you checked off this box, we're going to actually allow you to download a copy of the latest software to replace your old 2012 Data Center copy for free. Bam. Crazy. So reiteration, if you already have licensing, you have to check some boxes so you can get a reduction of rate. Look at that, 170 from 303. Now, if I uncheck it, it's going back to 305, 305. That is a big difference. If you're not using this, you're throwing away money. And that's why you want to work with a partner like Dean Dorton, because they're going to tell you, hey, we need to set this up for hybrid use benefit. Okay, now I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to share the results on that because that kind of shows you there. But now I want to ask the question about the hybrid use benefit. Okay, so I'm putting up a poll here. Let me know who here is actually, are you using the hybrid use benefit? because I'm going to show you something here that's going to be another sobering thought here, a sobering experience. And it's going to be an edification of what I've been talking about all the way through. Okay. All right. All right. Good deal. Good deal. Okay. Watch this. Okay. So this is a little bit better. Okay. So we've got about, 38% said yes out of the whole thing, but 63% said no, right? And they're trying to figure this out. Wait a minute, you're throwing away money if you're not doing this. And we're going to show you a way to figure that out here in just a second. Okay, so uncheck that box. Let's go next to disks. Okay. All right, so we have disks here. Okay, I want you to go to create and attach a new disk, and then push OK. So now so what happens is now we've attached a new data disk on the bottom. Okay, you have to do that. Okay, now let's go over to networking. It's the very next one on the bar here, and we're landing the plane here pretty soon. Okay, so I just want to show you. So networking, we click on networking, and there's a couple things I want to show you. Okay, it automatically brings over you the virtual network we already created, which is awesome because we put the resource group, so it just brings it over. It already brings over the subnet. Super awesome. Okay, you look at my screen, and it also creates a new public IP address for you, right? But the next thing you have to do, this is a pro tip number like 7 or 8 or 10, I don't know. Network security group. You want to push advanced. Okay, and why are we doing this? This is going to create another group where we go in there and we do inbound and outbound security rules. Okay, really important. Inbound security rules. So we have accelerated networking. Leave that alone. Now we're just going to go past management. So we don't, this is pretty much the end. Okay. So there's nothing in management at the next tab. We just go next one, we go to advanced, we click through to tags, and we go straight over to review and create. Okay. Now it's running final validation, running. Validation has passed. Okay. Then we go to the create button. Now, if you get to this point, deployment is in progress. Please come back and give me a good to go because we are landing the plane just on time here. So please, ladies and gentlemen, please fasten your seatbelt, put your tray in the upright position, and we are going to be landing the plane pretty soon. All right, Matthew, great job. Rosalind, great job. Karen, fantastic. Fantastic. Did anyone here get a failed validation? Anthony, great job, brother. Thanks, Captain. And please make sure your seatbelt is on. All right. Very cool. Very cool. Jeremy, good job. Good job. Okay, cool. All right. So while this is deploying, I'm going to talk really quickly. I'm going to show you something. It's one of the coolest tools out there. And this is how. Now we talked about all these like tips, right? And we're gonna get into the machine here in just a second. I said we got a lot of provision, so I got a few minutes. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little transition. Okay, you're asking, well, what's next? You know, I've gone through this lab. I've learned about these tools, or I learned about how I might be overspending, right? I learned what's next. Well, what's next is what Judy and Dean Dorton. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Karen says, is there alerts that can be set up for your scenario of the Bitcoin issue, like? Hey, Karen, did you expect utilization to go through the roof? Karen, yes, absolutely. So actually, let me show that. So Karen, if you look at my screen, I'm going to show this for everybody here. There's this thing called cost management and billing. On the bottom left-hand corner of your scenario, cost management and billing. We can actually go to cost management and billing and actually set up some alerts. That would be like, okay, parameters based on manage the user costs. Okay, and that's where Dean Dorton can really help you with, Karen, is helping you with setting those up. But that's where you would go. Okay, so back to what's next here. So you might be asking yourself, hey, how do we do this, or how do I set up alerts, right? So what we use, and this is what we do for all of the Dean Dorton clients here, is this tool called Surveil. Okay. And what Surveil is, it's a cost allocation asset management tool. And what does that mean? Okay, what that really means is pretty simple. It means that it's a read-only access tool. So there's no agent. We don't put any agent inside of it. It's just access to your licensing. That's all it's doing. Okay, and it's just reading your licensing. Okay, and then what it's doing, it's using machine learning and AI algorithms to do what's called a health check. And what that health check does, over 2 weeks, it sits there, and in 2 weeks, it's going to spit out a report where we can look at all of your Azure consumption and all of your Office 365 consumption and figure out where you're oversubscribed, where your reserved instances are, where your hybrid use benefit is, right? And there's no cost to see this. It's a free thing to do. So we use this as our discovery tool. So let me just show you right here. So when I would sign in like this, and we could give you access to this tool, or if you wanted to look at it. But if I look at my demo company here, what I love about this is it's 4 clicks, and then we let it sit for 2 weeks. And then when I look at Azure, the first thing that I would look at is recommendations, and I would look at summary, right? So in this case, I don't know if we can see, it's a bit of an eye test. We basically say, okay, reserved instances, you have idle services, right? You have idle databases, you have hybrid benefit, and that gives us details. So it says, okay, out of all of your subscriptions, you should use reserved instances for X, and this is how much you're going to potentially save, $282, $159 if we use reserved instances in this scenario, right? So we can see what the savings would be. And this is just on a 7-day look, right? Or if we said, hey, let's look at, we let it run and we get a health check and it says details. Okay, yes, if you use the hybrid benefit is enabled, we can actually save money on this. Okay, so we can do hybrid benefit. We can look at abandoned disks. That's usually a really big thing. Abandoned disk, idle services. If we can save money, like for example, and here's this idle services for Azure. And oh, look at all these services that are idle. Wait a minute, let's review these services and let's go ahead and tighten it down. The main idea of this tool is called optimization. We want to make sure that you are set up correctly. Okay, now that's for Azure, right? But we also, the beauty of this, it also brings in Office 365. So what I like about Office 365 is it gives us recommendations on Office 365. And it says, hey, look at this, inactive users. Look at this. You could save up to $4,000 a year because you have a bunch of inactive users that are using licensing that they shouldn't be using for. Microsoft doesn't want to tell you that they're not using license. They just keep charging you. So we're trying to tell you, hey, this is how we do. Or disabled accounts with licenses. You can save up $2,000 a year if we do this, right? Accounts. So what I'm showing you here, okay, is what is next? How do we help our clients like save money? And that's really what it is. It's we can show you how to save. And our typical savings, if we run this tool, is 42%. Can you believe that? 42%. We'll find 2 weeks. 42%. Just think about what your software costs are. We can reduce it by 42%. Okay, crazy. But the last thing I love about this, and this kind of goes to Karen's idea, there's a security dashboard that is part of this. Now, this is read-only access. Okay. Now, this is using the tool, the Secure Score tool, to be basically take a look at your organization and see what level of security are you currently at, right? And this looks at everything, right? So it's 56%. And it says, well, we can, the M365 E5 license has the ability to move your score up to 91%. Okay, we can look at security at a glance. Let me go ahead and push this one over here just a second. Okay, and this is where we can take a look at all of your access. We can say, hey, look, there's 17 conditional access policies. You've enabled multi-factor authentication on 68% of your accounts. You have insider threat and data leakage. 98% of all of your data in OneDrive are inactive. We can look at threat protection, go granular, right? But what I really like about this is license management, okay? Where you can actually start going into this and turning things on and off and increase your secure score based on what you currently have, but also let's say, try to figure out what are you double paying with, which I think is really good idea here, because if you look at investment returns, your current capabilities and what your potential capabilities is way different, right? Right now, you're paying probably an extra $200,000 in outside third-party costs, which you could already get with licensing with Microsoft 365, and you can do this. And look at that total cost per year, right? Total cost per year right now is $333. Potential capability, we can optimize your licensing, reduce your cost by $101,000, right? It's huge. This tool is lights out, and what I love about it, it's just there's no agent involved in it. It's really about optimization. And just think about how much it would cost to get somebody to optimize this thing, you know, to optimize all your licensing. Holy smokes. I mean, to be able to figure out, and Microsoft, as you can see here, license management, this is the thing. Look at all these different potential licenses. How the heck are you going to be able to do that, to manage all that? You just can't. Okay. So I just wanted to explain that to you. What do you guys think of anybody? Can I just get some feedback? What do you guys think of this tool? A thumbs up on the tool. Pretty cool. Is it different than what you've seen? And just go to the chat window. Just give me, yeah, okay, so Karen, okay, I like it. Cool, cool. Anyone else just have any feedback? I'm curious. David, awesome. Anthony, cool. Okay, cool. I just want to make sure. But yeah, I mean, the main thing is like, how do we save you money, right? Let's do that and not mess around with your current stuff, right? Let's first figure it out. Everything's about discovery. Okay. So now let's get back to our VM. It's deployed. I want to get into it, and then we're going to finish out here. Okay. So go. You should be back at your Azure portal. Okay. I want everyone to go to the top right-hand side. This little bell icon, please. Okay. Now, if you click on the bell icon, upper right-hand side, you're going to see that your deployment was succeeded. And there's a little button that says go to resource. Let's click on there, go to resource. Okay. Now, one thing we want to make sure that we understand here is we have to back this up. Now, we're not going to actually enable backup today because it's a soft delete. It causes me problems. So please don't enable the backup. But I want to show you, look at my screen or your screen in the middle. I want you to scroll down to where it says operations and where it says backup. So look at my screen. You click on backup. And this is where you would create a new backup vault. And this would be your policy. Now, Microsoft says, you know, hey, look, we'll back your stuff up if it's our problem. And they will. Okay. But if you have a person who comes in, causes a problem, or one of your own people messes up your machine, if you don't have images sliced up, backed up, you're up the creek without that. That's sincerely. Okay. So you would push enable backup and you're fine. Okay. So we're gonna get done with that. Let's just go, let's connect in the machine. Okay. So let's go back up to overview. Okay. Overview. And then where it says connect, click on connect. And we're going to download the RDP. So it's going to download. Click on download RDP file. Okay. Then we open up the RDP file that we downloaded. Okay. It says unknown publisher. Okay. Say connect. Okay. Now it's going to ask you for credentials. You don't use your current credentials that you have for your own stuff. Use demo user. And then the password capital PASSWORD.1 bang bang and push OK. Now I put that in the chat window. Just want to make sure. I'll repost it in the chat window here. Okay, awesome. And then you want to push yes, connect to it. Dun, da, da, da. Captain Chaos would say. We did it. All right. Who made it? I want to know who got to this part. We did it. If you did it, sweet. All right, Jeremy's good. Matthew, way to go, brother. Server manager's coming up. And look at that. Now, we did it correctly. We did it the right way. And we did it in under an hour of actually clicking. How cool is that? Just pretty cool, huh? I think it's cool, that we did. So this really was the basics, everyone. Matthew, all right. Anthony, good job. All right. That's awesome. So proud of you guys. So proud of everyone here. That's really fantastic. Yeah. So that's it. That we did it. We did it. Let's go over to Judy. I'm going to bring you back here. We have a call to action, I think, that we'd like to just talk to you a little bit about, and it's pretty simple of what we're looking to do here. You learned a lot, right, Judy? Everyone's learned a lot, from this scenario, and the main thing really is a brainstorm session. So, Judy, why don't you kind of talk a little bit about next steps? Like, what can they expect if they set up a call with you?
Yeah, and I think the whole idea is similar to what we were talking about a few minutes ago. It's hard to just say it's X amount of dollars and these are the exact steps to move something into the cloud. So what we're offering is we're happy to take an hour brainstorming session to talk about what are your cloud initiatives, what is it that you currently have from an infrastructure perspective, and let's talk about how security plays into that, because security is clearly important to everybody. And let's just look at how are costs involved, and kind of talk through all the different pieces. And let's do some brainstorming and think about what you might want to do and what you might not want to do, and talk a little bit about a high level plan and go from there. We're happy to get together, do an hour together and see where it goes. And we're not talking about, having your credit card ready as you walk out the door. It's not an infomercial. But we want to make this an interactive session to bring some value to everybody, and to see if you're ready to do some next steps, and if something that we can help you with would be valuable.
Yeah, and the other thing too is we would talk about using that surveil tool, right, to do an assessment, really, and
Right.
I think that's where the rubber meets the road. Everything's about, and in the way we teach this all the time. It's information is the keys to the castle of doing this correctly, right? And and a lot of you have already expressed that you may not have used RI, reserved instance, or hybrid use benefit. And I think this tool can really highlight specifically down to the VM or down to the workload, and also provide the compliance piece of it. And it's free, for the health check,
Right. That may be one of the things that we talk about in the session, is that you'd be very interested in doing the free review with Surveil to kind of get an overview of what it can uncover and what it looks like.
Yeah.
And see what that initial review looks like using Surveil. It's not something that we can just go out and do without your permission. So
Yeah.
we have to discuss it with you first, because clearly we don't have unlimited access to everybody's environments, nor should we.
Nor should we. Yeah. I love the fact that it's not the agent. A lot of these tools have agents in them, and people kind of bristle, and with all the security stuff in the past, you want to think about it, right? So now what we'll do is we'll follow up with you, right? With some of you express interest in learning more about specific things that we were talking about. We'll follow up with you. Judy will send you out a calendar invite. Right, Judy? I think a calendar invite. If that time doesn't work for you, please just suggest another time. No problem. And then our team will also follow up with you and see if there's anything to need. We're not, we're just here to talk. Okay, so just like it's not an infomercial. It's not going to be a trade show or no. What is it? Timeshare.
Yeah. You don't have to sit through for 45 minutes so you can get the free gift at the end. None of those types of things. It needs to have value for you, or it's not worthwhile for you or me. So
yeah. Those timeshare things, man. I tell you, I had to sit through one. I don't know why. I was like, I'm never doing this again. It was such high pressure, But so, do we have any questions? I know, Karen, you had mentioned about the cost management piece. Do you want to maybe do you want me to kind of just show you a little bit more about that, or? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's just And this is something that I'm gonna get out of this machine here. But yeah, so cost management and billing. If you see my screen, I actually I have these things in place too. And what you want to do is you come in here. We have not started the implementation yet, so we are just starting down the roadmap. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we're gonna be really careful. Be really careful here. But as you can see here, I've got some limits. So very first and foremost, spending rate and forecast. So I have this for my sandbox environment. For this particular one, I want to keep it, or I want to get an alert anytime it gets close to $800. Okay, if resources have been deprecated, kind of going down that road, that's what we do inside of here. But more so, and so you can do invoices over time. You can look at the charts right here. We can do let's see.
That cost alerts piece might be helpful.
Yes. And if you take a look at the cost alerts, yeah, this is. So it's loading up. I did put one in here. Oh. Scope here. Let me go add. So you can add a scope, a different alert based on potential budgets. We can create budgets, behind that. But what I do actually want to show you now, Karen, have you not migrated to Azure yet? Because I want to show you this other tool, this migration tool. Oh, look at that one. Awesome. So I forecast actual budgets. I have this here. There's this thing called the Azure Migrate assessment tool. Would you like to see that? Or would anybody else like to see that really quickly? Let me go ahead. Okay, let me do this. So I'm going to show you something. So if you haven't migrated to, okay, cool. So Azure Migrate. Okay, so this thing's Azure Migrate. Now we teach this all the time. Okay. Now, if you haven't gone to Microsoft Azure yet, you're still on-prem. You're still kind of thinking, okay, please don't start something unless you use the right tools. This is where Dean Dorton would help you out with, okay? But this is the tool that we would use. And you come in here and you go to Azure Migrate and you start with Discover, Assess, and Migrate, okay? Now, what happens is you create this, you're missing, I've already created this. So you create a project. So it says Test Migrate, right? But there's two tools here. One is the assessment tool. So see where it says Discover, I'd click on Discover. And then it basically says, are your servers virtualized, right? And it'd say, yes with VMware, so vSphere, no problem. Yes with Hyper-V, okay, maybe that's cool. Or physical AWS, GCP, any other provider, we can do that. But let's say it's Hyper-V, okay? We would name our appliance, okay? So it could be Migrate appliance, you call it Migrate. We generate this key, and after we generate a key, which takes about 10 minutes, we would download this appliance. Now, what this appliance is, it's an agent. It's a Microsoft agent. And what this agent does is you put it onto your virtualized server. Now, if you have a server, and let's say you could do up to 1,000 VMs, but let's say you had 10 VMs. You take those 10 VMs and you put it inside the appliance. Basically, you just say, okay, I'm going to bring the VMs in. And then what the appliance does over the next, well, I say you do it for 3 weeks, not for 2. Some people say you do shorter. Leave it go for 3 weeks. The appliance is going to monitor all the traffic, all the usage, everything to do with the appliance, right? So I'm going to show you something. Okay. It's going to then give us a dependency analysis. It's going to say, okay, out of these 10 VMs, 6 of them are ready to go to Azure. No problem. No problem. It's going to say 4 of them are not. You need to remediate, or it's going to say 1 can never come. Okay. Remediate. But then what it's also going to do, it's going to give us an idea. It's going to give us a reporting of, hey, this is the type of VM that you want. Okay. It's going to tell you with reserved instance or hybrid use benefit. It's going to give us a lot of information, which is, once again, what you want to do before you do anything. You want to figure out what to do. Okay. You don't want to blindly do this. So you have this dependency analysis. We assess it. Now, the beauty, I'm going to tell you the beauty of doing it this way, because it's an Azure agent. It's a Microsoft agent. It's not a third-party agent. It's a Microsoft. So this is okay. This is one of those agents that you should be okay with. The beauty of having this appliance installed and doing that assessment is that when that assessment is done and you're like, okay, I'm going to migrate, let's say 6 of those servers, you come down to the server migration, you push discover because it's just going to basically log in back in there, right? And then you can replicate those with a quick, you do a test migration. So it replicates, literally just sucks it over, replicates what you have. Then you test it. Okay, cool. Then you hit full migration and then you're done. Okay, now that is the overview piece of it. Dean Dorton's really great at actually doing all the nitty gritty stuff. There's a lot more. I gave you the easy way, you know, like you know, the cover of the car, but it's
In
not really what I
layperson's
learned,
terms.
right? But that's what it is. Okay. Now, if you don't use this, I'll be really frank with you. I feel for the potential of having a big issue. Okay, a failed project migration. Now, the second thing, you know, I would strongly suggest that if you're doing this, let's talk to Dean Dorton, have them help you with this piece of it, you know, and get the right information first. That's what I would say. Judy, you have any thoughts on that last little piece?
Yeah, I think one of the things that people don't always understand is they'll sometimes think, oh, we have an internal team, we can manage all of this ourselves. We don't need a partner because we're planning to own the project. And it's absolutely fine to have your team own the project, but sometimes you want to have a partner like us available so that you have somebody to ask questions of, so that you have just kind of an extra piece of support in case your team needs it. We have no problem with you owning the project of the migration as you go along. We can own the whole thing, or we can just be a piece of extra support as you go through. And it's nice to have that available sometimes. So don't be afraid to talk about something and say, we're going to own this piece, but we just want to tell you what's going on and see what your thoughts are.
So Migrate is right? Is any of your services funded by MS3Pi? Yes, Karen, actually there are. The Partner Investment Engine allows us to fund for migration services. So when we reach back out to you, yeah, let's talk about that. We can help you out with trying to find some dollars to offset the cost for the migration fees. A lot of times it's pretty comprehensive. So we would love to talk to you about that. No problem. Yeah, happy to do that. So that's really what it is. So thank you everyone for coming today. Judy, thanks for having us on here. You know, to do this for you guys, and really always appreciate it. You guys are always great to work with, and thank you everybody for coming. You know, we'll reach out to you, send you some stuff, and look forward to just talking with you again. You know, let's just talk. That's all. All right, everyone, have a great afternoon. Thank you, and talk to you guys soon. Thanks again. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you.
Judy. Thank you. Okay, and webinar.
Chairman, everybody.
All right.